District breakdown time. We are talking non-5A Division Two, our last Division Two district in the Houston area. John Poorman's with me in the Houston Chronicle. 8-team district, but it sure seems top heavy to me, man. Maybe just start off and talk about who you see as the top teams in this district.
Yeah, this is a really exciting district because the top three teams coming back were all in different districts last year. So you have some really good battles on our hands here once we get into district play in this one. And those top three teams that I'm talking about, of course, are Iowa Colony, Fort Bend Marshall, and Randall. Iowa Colony and Randall are obviously two younger programs. Iowa Colony played in 4A last year, but they really had a breakthrough season, getting into the playoffs and winning a bunch of games. And, Randall as well, can't say enough about what they did finishing as a district runner-up behind a really talented Lake Creek team last year, and then, making some noise in the playoffs of their own. So those are the two new up-and-coming programs that have really jumped onto the scene. And then, of course, you have Fort Bend Marshall, the perennial power, down there in Fort Bend County. Just year after year, they're going to have talent, they're going to have good coaching, and that they're going to be able to win a lot of games. And so I'm really looking at those three teams in particular. We'll see how things kind of line up. When you're talking about, these four playoff spots, Texas City is a team that's had a lot of recent success as well. So they could definitely get into the mix. But I'm really interested to see how these three teams coming from different districts in the previous alignment really match up with each other, and which one could come out on top.
Yeah, let's. I mean, you talk about Texas City, and they made quite a run in there. They ran into that Huntsville team, and who just ended up playing great in the playoffs. They beat them like 12-7 or 10-7. But the cool thing about this district is now they're also in Region 3. So they stay away from P&G and now SOC's in Region 2 as well. They stay away from those teams until they go quite far deep. But what I want to talk about is Marshall. Recent history, they've had early exits. What's it going to take to get those athletes together, not only to have a dominant regular season, but to plug away in the postseason as well?
Yeah, I think probably just a little bit more stability at the quarterback position. You think about going back a few years, and they had Jordan Davis running the show, and then the year before that it was Jacoby Banks, and so they've had and even further back, you're talking about some of the really elite Fort Bend Marshall teams with the guy like Willie Cornsby running the show. So I think if they can get a little bit more consistent play at the quarterback position, that'll open things up. They have such great talent at the receiver spots. Andre Feast and Jacaden Ferguson are both, Division One recruits, getting lots of looks from colleges. So they definitely have the talent there. It's just somebody getting a little bit more consistency out of the quarterback position, and but they'll find a way. They always do. Jacoby was a receiver that played in that spot for 1 year, and then Jordan Davis was a guy who kind of emerged as a senior and really took over and had an outstanding season. And so, I'm confident that the Buffs will find their guy, and whoever that may be, some player that came on the scene last year, or somebody else stepping up from a different position, they'll find somebody there and get things rolling, I think, with this offense.
I guess lastly, you mentioned Texas City as possible the fourth team to make the postseason out of this district. But looking at the other four, the Rosenberg teams probably are going to struggle. Same with Santa Fe. But does Baytown Lee have a chance to take that fourth spot away from Texas City, or no?
Yeah, it's going to be. I think they certainly have an opportunity there. I would bet on those top three teams that we talked about, for sure getting in, and then, Texas City and Lee possibly, making some noise. But, obviously it's going to come down to, it might come down to a head-to-head matchup between those teams. So we'll see how it goes. But, this week in and week out, this is going to be, a really tough district. Thinking about the playoffs, Iowa Colony had a great season last year, but as I mentioned, they were in 4A. And so it's going to be interesting to watch their transition to 5A football. But they have basically everybody back on the roster, two really talented players in Carson White and Cam Renfro, who both played at the quarterback spot last year. And then, on defense, they have a defensive back in Jervis Solomon who had 10 interceptions. They're bringing everybody back, and Randall, of course, they've been playing 5A football, and they bring a lot of talent back as well, led by Landon Williams Callis, who burst onto the scene as a freshman, already getting offers from Alabama and Georgia and pretty much everybody else after putting up 2,000 yards of total offense there. So, if a Texas City or a Baytown Lee, if one of these teams wants to get into the playoffs, it would, definitely serve them well to try to compete with these top three teams and maybe pull out, a victory or two against these prohibitive top three.
Excellent. All right, that's it for Division II, man. Next week we're going to go to 5A Division I. We're going to talk about some teams up in Angleton and Baytown and all that, and we'll discuss all that stuff next week. John, I appreciate you joining us, man. Have a good week.
Sounds good. You too.